Oh yeah, back and so glad to be. You bleeping nerds. You be in. Hey man, how y'all been? It's been a long ass time. And you know what? That's my fault. What can I say? Life finds a way, but life gets in the way. You know what I mean? And we've been gone for a long time. I'll be honest. It's about last August since I last checked in with my people, with my bleeping nerds. I'm sorry, y'all. I just been busy. I'm a daddy. I'm a husband. I be working. I ain't got a whole lot of time. And especially over these last few months, everything else is kind of taking priority. So, but I'm back. I'm back here, back with the people, back what you need, back by popular demand. Hey, yo, shout out to the people, the strange, lovely folks who actually was still listening to this dead ass podcast when I was off away. I was a sad man, so I was in there just kind of checking into the numbers, because I miss this, man. I miss y'all. I miss talking about all my comics and cartoons and animes and all that whatnot. So the idea that, it's a couple of y'all bleeping nerds out there, you know what I'm saying, who's checking in with your boy. I actually highly appreciate all that, you know what I mean? Because y'all motivate me, man. Y'all love this like I love this. And, I'm just happy to be back. And I'm trying to stay back. I'm trying to stay back for as much as I can. You know what I'm saying? I want to build this out. You know what I'm saying? Y'all like this stuff. Y'all like these bleeping nerd stuff. You know what I mean? And I love y'all and I love being here. So, I'm going to try to be back, stay back, see what I can do with this little stuff. But, we here to have fun, man. It's been a long time. I think last time I talked to y'all, we was talking about Zom 100. And some other anime, Jujutsu Kaisen and all that stuff has wrapped up in this season. We're in a brand new season now, winter season, January 2024. Happy New Year, y'all. We here in January. So, we got a whole new lineup for y'all. You know what I'm saying? I gotta show y'all what I'm tapping into now. You know what I'm saying? I gotta give y'all my hot weekly five. We wrapped up on everything we were covering last season, during that massive hiatus. But on the back half of this episode, I'm going to go into a couple of my favorites from last season, but we're not going to do that first. This You Bleeping Nerds, man. We got that hot fresh for you. You know what I'm saying? And I just finished a little bit of a cult. The first episode of a kind of a cult following right now. Highly anticipated Solo Leveling. Episode 1 dropped last night. You know what I'm saying? And I'm covering for you. I just finished it. I actually checked out the light novel back when it first out, the webtoon. I mean, back when it first dropped, way back when I was even a youngster. And I was tapping into it back then. I was digging it back then. You know what I mean? And but it kind of fell off. It wasn't right up my alley, especially not back then. So got a actual official full anime season. So we're gonna tap into it. We're gonna make that our Monday joint. And on Wednesday, I'm actually going to go over the new lineup. There's going to be some changes here at UBN, because I am the skipper. It's your boy A, but I am but one man. So we're going to try to lighten my load here on the podcast and see if we can go from my dream is 5 days a week. I'm trying to come here every day for y'all. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to go to work for y'all. But time constraints, energy constraints, you know what I'm saying? So it's like we're gonna cut it down to 2, maybe move it up to 3, you know what I'm saying? See how things shake out. And once we build this thing out, I know we are, we're gonna get back to our 5 days a week kind of bag, because there's so much to cover. I want to get to every day, but right now we're gonna start small. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like my boy in Solo Leveling. We're going to go ahead and jump right into the review for Solo Leveling episode 1. Yeah, I mean, I liked it, right? I mean, there's a reason why we've been waiting on this for some years now, right? I really enjoyed it. Slow in the first quarter, I would say, in the first episode. You got just kind of breaking down the world and everything that's happening here. Obviously, the Hunters Association dynamic. I don't know. I feel like Hunter is gonna have something to say about that. And we calling it the Hunter Association. That's I think Hunter when I hear that, but I don't know what the licensing laws are on that. So I'm gonna let that alone. I'm gonna leave that alone. But get into that first third of that episode, and they're just kind of breaking down the world that they're in. Obviously, the portals that are showing up, and dungeon monsters. Turning the world into a big ass MMORPG. You know what I mean? Just gamifying the world. I really enjoyed the writing aspect of how the government it wants to use the loot, the drops, the crystals from the monsters that are defeated as an energy source. Like as I'm becoming like an actual grown up, like I enjoy the cynicism of all things the government and just how everything is just it's just like we literally don't care if magical portals show up from the fucking sky. Like, can I fly my plane with it? Like, can I murder people in the Middle East with it? Like, that's where I'm at now. Like, I love the idea of like this, like, oh, the world's like a magical like raid place. The government's like, sweet. Can I increase my stock price? Can I become like a magical like lobbyist? You know what I mean? Like, now there's like magical lobbyists some out here taking advantage of like trolls and like wizards and shit. Because he's got to get reelected anyway. That's that. Don't let my cynicism ruin y'all fun. Okay, that's my pain. Anyway, I enjoyed that part of the aspect. The government getting involved. Now we have a bunch of like 20-year-olds running around with magical powers. Shooting at trolls with swords. And that's where we find our main character. Our main character, who is the weakest homie in the world, apparently. He's my boy Jung. He's just not very good. Like, he's just not. He doesn't have any powers, it seems. I don't really know what class he is. They didn't really specify. I'm gonna say maybe he's in a thief class or whatever. He ain't no mage or like berserker or paladin or none of that shit. Like, I don't know, he's a homie with a starter jacket and a knife. And so like that's where we're at with him. Seems like a nice fellow though. The girls like him. He's got the I forget her name. What is her name? Julia. She you guys gotta forgive me with the Korean names. Like, I'm here with the Japanese anime all day, every day. So much better with that. The Korean names, y'all gotta give me at least till episode 4. You know what I'm saying? Y'all just gotta give just I'm from a different place. You know what I mean? Anyway, so yeah, he pulled him a lady companion. So that's cool. Good for him. She's a healer. That's probably the only reason why that motherfucker's still alive, because it ain't his ability. My goodness. Yeah, that sucks. Like, the bit of terrible exposition that they did. I just hate it when a narrator explains shit overall. Like, I just think there's a better way to write that. Anyway, the exposition they explain, like, you kind of stuck at whatever rank you're at. So that sucks because he sucks, and that's not going to be really good. For him. Obviously, he's going to get stronger. The show's about him, so I imagine he's gonna, I don't know, solo level his way up to getting better. But it's been a long time since I read the webtoon, so I'm actually kind of coming into this fresh because, like, it's just been many years since I have been at this part of the story. I've long forgotten about it, so I was excited about this. I'm gonna have some more of the You Bleep a Nerd universe. My compadres Laz and Late Boy Dan, we're coming back. I'm gonna reintegrate my squad back into this, and I'm looking forward to it. I miss my homies, and I missed y'all. You know what I mean? But yeah, advancing in the episode, to kind of introduce our lovely, sweet, whack week homie. He was going through the dungeon, kind of explaining to all of us that, like, he stayed getting murked because he sucks, but he's also poor. So he's got to keep doing it. And, I'm going to reveal something to y'all. As a black man in America, it's a shocker, I know. As a black man in America, I totally understand that. Like, that's what I was tapped in. I was just like, oh, yeah, I get this, right? It's just the world dangerous out here, but I got to keep going out here. My man did got stabbed. His shoes ain't shoes no more. Like, his sneakers are sandals now. Like, it's just like, man, it's hard out here when you're a weak person in a strong ass world. He is struggling. The show really picked up for me. I love struggle, y'all. So like the show really picked up for me. My man got like a broke ass dagger. He can't afford real weapons because he can't go on real quests because he'll die. Like he'll die. He can't do anything. So he gotta have weak ass like level 1 daggers and shit that like they be telling him are magically him dumb, but I don't even really be believing them. Like I don't they tell that motherfucker anything with his broke ass. He ain't got no fucking anyway. It's bad. It's bad for our protagonist. He's got him a lady fan, so it's not too bad. Healer keeping him alive and she pretty, so it ain't too bad. But it's like, man, I feels bad for my man. He's in this party. Everybody's stronger than him. They down here in this dungeon raid. He, they think they beat the little ant boss guy. The giant ant, white ant, elite army ants. They dispatched them at some point. Their S ranks kind of, do their thing and take them out. And they find this secret tunnel that leads to, in my estimation, what is a secret boss chamber. A bunch of freaky statues everywhere. One giant statue seems like it's dressed as the king of all these statues. And door closes, and statues start bodying people. My one man who didn't want to come in the first place is decapitated instantaneously. Our main character dude ends up saving everybody just because he's so like bodyable that he just can see it coming at all times. Like he has to be on like P's and Q's at all times, because if he's not, he will just die, and he has to. So he saves everyone. The big king statue had fired its laser, and took out pretty much, in my estimation, about half the party, except for the ones who ducked. So they're all gone. He's still alive though, so good for him. But they all have this horrifying realization that they are going to have to fight these statues, and they know they're not ready. They know they're not ready. They know they're not ready for any of that. And they basically realize that they're gonna die. And that's basically where they leave the episode. Couple things about it I liked. Obviously, he's a perfect, our protagonist. He's the perfect kind of character to be the protagonist, right? Because there's just so much room for dynamic growth in his character, right? Like, not only is he weak physically, but his personality is actually very weak. He's getting pushed around by a healer. Like, come on, y'all. Like, if you know MMO dynamics, like, the healers are not the ones pushing people around. Like, that's not how this works here. You know what I mean? You show up after the people who have done the real fight. That's not actually true. But, like, that's not actually true. If you're a good healer, that's not actually true. But no, like, he doesn't have the most solid of foundation within himself as a young man. So, but another part I like that they revealed in his story, in his exposition, that he's taking all these life-threatening missions, even though he is as weak as he is, before his family. His mother apparently has some type of disease and needs treatments that's very expensive. Anybody worldwide, but especially here in the States, can understand that. We're going through things like that right now in my family, so I totally understand. That dynamic, and his sister has goes to some kind of school that needs to be paid for. Sis got to stay in school, and dad has disappeared. He's probably also a hunter and probably went missing in some kind of accident. I imagine that's very common with the way they've described their world. So it's you immediately feel for him, because it's like he doesn't want to be here, right? Like, he has to be here. He doesn't have a choice. He has literally a family to feed and take care of, and pay their medical bills, and it's not his fault he's weak, right? Like, he has to. he too wishes he was S rank, but unfortunately, these bills keep coming, and like that, I appreciate little elements like that in an anime, to where it's my struggle itself is a supernatural, phantasmic one, but it's ultimately grounded in the same things that you care about, which is like, I have to take care of my family. I just lost my father, and I have to take care of my mom and my sister. Like that. That's something I think a lot of us can directly relate to, and like that's why I like our main character, dude. Man, like, I'm rooting for him. It's hard out here. It's hard out here, man. Like, he I don't know anything about the webtoon really past the core story. Like I said before, I picked this up essentially when it first became a webtoon, kind of on a whim, and enjoyed it. But at that time especially, there were so many other things to look at, so I never really invested in it. And obviously I had friends who followed it. I think Late Boy Dan actually is one of those avid followers since the beginning. So once we get him back on here, we'll definitely hear from him. but yeah, like, it looking at it now, it's just and refreshing my memory as much as I did. Yeah, I'm really excited to see where it goes. Right, I see the techniques that he uses to get stronger. It's an isekai, so I personally have a thing against isekai, especially right now. I think it's a little bit of a virus that has infected my sweet anime industry, and I think it's a bit of a problem. Not a huge fan of the isekai craze that has infected my shows, but um, obviously, when something's mass produced, there tends to be one or two gems, special ones in in the midst of all the crap. No, shout out to the animators. They work long hours. I don't want to call anything crap. Y'all work long hours. It's just, damn, I counted 12 isekai this season. Like, god damn, y'all. Like, anyway, Solo Leveling. Yeah, that's that's episode 1. I'm looking forward to this. Gonna tap into this. It's gonna be our Monday show. I know it airs on Saturdays on Crunchyroll, but that's gonna be our Monday show. Our show's gonna still be Monday, Wednesday, Friday format during the week. So that's gonna be we're gonna tap in after every weekend with this show, and I think it's a good one. I think it's a good show to start off the week with, and I'm happy to have it. I'm happy to be here. I missed y'all, man. It's been a long time sit here and run my mouth into the void to no one. It's been good. So that's my review of the first episode of Solo Leveling. But stay with me, because it's been a long ass time. So I'm gonna catch y'all up on what were my 2 favorite shows from last season, right? I'm just gonna give you guys in general on the other side what I enjoyed from the other season. But I got a couple things in mind that I'm gonna tap into. So don't go nowhere. Thank you for coming back. I'm happy to be back. It's your boy A, the Skipper. Stay with me. I will see y'all on the other side, man. All right. This is part 2. UBN, you bleeping nerds. Welcome back for all my homies who stayed with me from the other side. Y'all the real bleeping writers. I love y'all. Y'all the reason why I do this, so thank you. All right, but getting into segment 2. You know, our first segment, we just covered Solo Leveling, episode 1, the anime adaptation of the popular webtoon, Korean webtoon. Solo Leveling, episode 1. That is our Monday episode review. You know, we try to review an anime every day, but we're gonna try to do that 3 times a week this time. We're going to get back to you with our Wednesday show. And Wednesday, we're going to lay out the lineup for you guys so you know what to expect Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So we're gonna try to lay that out for you guys on Wednesday to be cleared what the format's going to be. You bleeping nerds, you be in. You know, it's been a long time since I've heard from you guys. Last season we were covering a bunch of cool stuff, you know, Mushoku Tensei, our favorite magical little pervert, you know. You guys were following that. Spoiler alert, he fixed his penis, so good for him. Good for our magical little perverted 40-year-old, you know, 20-year-old's body. So good for him. Or 15. I don't even think he's 20. But, you know, good for him. You know, fucking a, you know, and teenage elf. You know, good for them. Look. They told me that's a happy ending. And so we're just gonna I'm gonna look, that's what they say. That everything that happened was great. So no, jokes aside, I enjoyed the end of Mushoku Tensei that season. My man's, you know, again, spoiler alert if you have not finished it, but you know, getting back with the young elf Sylvie, you know, she obviously posing as Fitz, bodyguard for the Azuran princess. So good on them, Mushoku Tensei, you know, our favorite magical little pervert, you know, but that's not what we're going to talk about from last season. I had to debate a little over what I wanted to kind of dive into for what was my 2 favorite shows from our last episode season, which weirdly our spring season, because winter season is going to kind of be now in February and March and essentially till the end of April. So this is going to be our winter season. But what I wanted to get into, I had to have a real debate on like what was my favorite shows, not just anime. What were my favorite shows? And I had to make a list. I had to make a long list, and then I had to shorten that list, and then I had to debate on that short list who are gonna be the 2 I talked about. And it really came down. One of them is that one of these shows that I'm going to talk about, to me, represent what I want to see more in all artistic mediums, but, you know, drawing and animation especially, that just show me some crazy shit, man. Like, if you've thought of it in your brain, draw it up and let me see it. I want to see how unique and beautiful and different and fascinating and captivating and enchanting you can make a world and you can make a planet. And then there's the other show I'm going to talk about. The first show that I'm talking about is a show that can you make something that really speaks to my soul as a human, that can really resonate with me as a person and really have me understand the whimsy and nature of, you know, because of the crushing, you know, nature of society. And so shows that ended up doing that for me. The show I'm going to talk about first is, to me, anime of the spring season, Zom 100. And the other show I'm going to talk about afterwards is the Max animated, in my opinion, hit Scavengers, right? Both of those shows, in my opinion, are so special. But no, getting into Zom 100 first. It was one of the shows we covered in our Hot Five, our bleeping Hot Five. Zom 100. If you hate your job, stand up. And this is when the Raven X Late Boy Dan would stand up because that's his thing. Good teammate. Oh man, Zom 100 was a fun ride, episode 1 to episode end. It was sensational. If we were doing our bleeping awards, it would probably win best opening. Its OP is beautiful and fun and catchy, and it's on my YouTube music now because it's just fun. It's, man, just literally from the minute you put on an episode of Zom 100, you're having a good time. I love the story, the premise of he was grounded down in a very exploitive work culture. Because as an American watching anime, I so totally relate to the idea. Like I said, like we made it a thing. If you hate your job, stand up. Like, I so totally relate to the idea of like, my job is gonna kill me. My job's gonna kill me, man. I've very almost maybe even last week might have worked 60 plus hours, not really sitting down at all for several weeks in a row, lifting and moving and smiling, because it's the mental pain is still pain. I totally related to the protagonist, and I thought that it's from there, it was just such a knockout win of a show from there, because it was just so captivating. First off, Tendo is such a fun, loving young man, right? Very good-natured protag, in that those always play well. Where we love Naruto's and Sonic and Goku and all. We always like when our protagonist, it's kind of was in vogue for our protagonist to be kind of jerk. And there's room for that, but we like it when the protagonist, Deku from My Hero, like we like when our protagonists, Luffy, we like when our protagonists are, fun dudes, right? Because we gotta spend a lot of time with these people, so it's good when they're fun, happy smiling dudes. Or women, just smiling, happy people, But man, Tendo was just so lovable. Even while being abused, he was such a lovable character. And, watching the mental abuse, watching the mental stress of the job, his abusive boss, Kosagi, the way he just made him his slave and did it through culture and guilt and overwork and exhaustion and starvation, of like body and mind. Like it was such a draining place, and they did such a good job of illustrating that when inevitably the world ended, the color literally came back to Tendo's life, to where, like, honestly, what is being alive? Yeah, sure, society is over, right? And frankly, a lot of people die. But the idea that the zombie apocalypse wasn't the end, it was a second chance to have a new beginning. And as someone who, has dreams of things that I want to do before I die, before I become a zombie, the joy and the freedom he felt. He's literally flying through the sky, chased by zombies, and in that being chased by very colorful zombies, but like flying through the sky, he's on air, especially in that first episode. That's like, I am free from the shackles of that. Like, it moved me. As you can hear in my voice in these dulcet tones, like it moved your boy. It moved your boy. I was moved by the premise and the execution of it all. And then from there, it was just a fun ride, right? You meet your friend Kencho. He Tendo spreading some of that good vibe. He's just like, hey, Kencho, fuck life and fuck work. I'm literally living my best life type shit. Like, and Kencho, like, fuck it, you my homie. I'm definitely about to live my best life too. So, he dyed his hair blind and started getting naked and telling jokes. You know what I mean? Like, that's what he did. Like, hey, look. I watched another show, Carol at the Edge of the World. Like, apparently that's what humanity wants to do. Humanity want to get butt naked. I don't know why y'all want to be ass naked, but clearly at the end of it all, humanity go be ass naked. But anyway, look forward to that or not. Who knows? But anyway, shout out to Carol at the End of the World. Great show, great animated show. But anyway. Yeah, Kencho getting butt naked, telling jokes, scraping his balls against side windows, shit. On accident, but didn't end up great. This is why you gotta keep your pants on, homie. But anyway. Oh man, like they're going around, they make their lists. Obviously, Zom 100 is a list that he makes, the 100 things that he wants to do before he inevitably becomes a zombie. And it just becomes a list. Obviously, they're gathering more people. The risk analysis girl, eventually the little samurai German girl, Bia. They get their little traveling group and eventually go to see his hometown and go to aquariums. And, shout out to, I forget the artist. I think it's like Mujihito, but like shout out to the artist with the shark legs. I know that was a reference to a very very popular horror mangaka. That spider bug shark thingy, zombie shark thing. It was an homage to that work. I wish I could, off the top of my head. I'm doing this podcast fresh, folks, off the dome. You know what I'm saying? There's really no prep here. But no, shout out to him. But no, man, Zom 100 was so tremendous. When I watched that show, I thought about a phrase in my head that kind of just kept popping by, like, what does it mean to be alive? Right? What does it mean to be alive? So, like, there's a phrase that some of you may be familiar with called the grown dead, right? Not the walking dead, but the grown dead. And anybody who doesn't know, it's essentially it's a reference that young people use towards certain kind of old people who've kind of given up on their dreams and given up on themselves. And you're alive, but you're a drone. You don't have any real thoughts or feelings or hopes. You just kind of live every day and have kind of like conceded to the defeats of what is the monotonous inevitability of life. And that's why they call them the grown dead. They're alive, but they're really dead inside. And I'm reminded of this when I look at Zom 100, where a man found freedom literally in the death of the rest of the world, because the structure, and he was a young man still in his early 20s, the structure of the world that he found himself in was killing him and had killed him inside to some degree. And I think it's very apt in the world we live in now, this show, the premise of that show, because I think in the world we live in now, a lot of us are there. One of the reasons I probably have this podcast is because I'm some level of there, and it's just for adults or even people who've just been through certain things. It's such a relatable premise. It's such a characters like this, considering the situation that he was in, and understanding joy from all of the what is essentially the global crisis and panic and pain, and there's still an element of him. The show is much more grounded than you would think. He's still concerned about people's lives and things like that. It's plenty whimsical and fucking stupid, don't get me wrong, but like, he becomes a superhero with like a scuba suit. But it's a really, really fun ride, and I appreciate it. I appreciate everything about it. It was never really slow. All of the music was very apropos. The characters were fun. They were funny. I laughed. I cried. I was angry. There's certain the big baddies at the end. Spoilers, 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 spoilers. The big baddies at the end. Basically the people who just want to fuck shit up in the world because the zombie apocalypse, man. Like, I thought that was a good piece of writing, adding the negative photos of Tendo, right? What happens when we're not happy people and good natured people on the inside. We're actually miserable, hateful people in the world, that we're just as happy the world ended, right? Like that's one thing you could juxtapose against one another, is that they're very different people. Three horrible people versus 4 or 5 pretty good people, but their gratefulness that the monotony of the world that we live in has subsided is it's still a parallel. What we choose to do with our newfound freedom is a reflection of the pain we have inside. But the fact that they all still rejoiced at the apocalypse is to me telling that it's just like, it doesn't matter who you are. It kind of sucks for a lot of us, and that's what this show does. That show did, is that it showed that, hey man, it sucks for a lot of us, and I would rather it reset this whole thing than gotta keep doing what we're doing, man, because it's hard for a lot of people, and that really resonated with me. 10 out of 10, Zom 100. I thought you were great. I really enjoy. I was inspired. I can't wait for the next season, if there is one. You guys have the best freaking opening of the last season, especially the second opening. It's the same song, but they redid the actual opening animation with the sequence dance of all the characters and the zombies. They got to dance, a la Thriller style. That was dope, bleeping fucking dope. I loved it. Good job, Zom 100. Obviously, if you guys haven't checked this out, check it out. Support the manga. Pick it up. Go buy it, whatever you can buy. I'm sure Amazon has it. They own us all. Get on your knees and praise the big A, giant smiling arrow in the sky. Anyway, that's on 100, man, from last season. Kudos to them. It's my anime of the season. It's my show of the season. That's probably the best thing I watched in the last spring season. So there were some honorable mentions. The second show I'm going to talk about in a second is up there. I don't know how close it was to winning animated show of the year or even show of the year, but I wanted to talk about it because it's a special show. So stick with me on the other side, and we're gonna get into something that really stood out to me. I want to see more of, and that's Scavengers Raid. I'll see you guys on the other side. All right, welcome back, y'all. Segment 3. Thanks for hanging out with me this long. You know what I'm saying? You're 40 minutes into this, and that's because y'all missed us, and we missed y'all, man. You know what I'm saying? Y'all like it's anybody else. It's just me. You know what I'm saying? My Padres are not here. Plus, this is my podcast, so I'm the skipper. It's your boy A, man. I'm the skipper. Anyway, you know what I'm saying? Welcome back to segment 3. I want to talk about a show that was really special to me last season, that I kind of discovered late in the season, finished very quickly, and fell in love with, and wish everyone in the world saw it and want to talk about it. And of course, I am talking about HBO Max's hit, Scavengers Raid. Quick rundown. It seems like an intergalactic, kind of terra foraging company who seems like they have a bunch of scientists and astronauts, and they go to different places, and kind of study them. They have their ship, and they get stranded on a very, very unique planet, and they have to call the ship down and make their way back to the ship, and find a way off of the planet. And boy, this planet, Scavenger's Reign is the phrase that just keeps coming to my head is eye-popping, captivating. Immediately when you're in the world, the fauna, the plants, the landscape, the rocks, the animals, all of it is just, it's unlike anything you've ever seen before. Like unlike maybe the only property I can think is maybe Spirited Away in some places, right? Like it's such a beautiful, unique type of planet. Everything is so alive and vibrant, and everything has a life to it. Even the trees and the plants, some of the plants are literally like alive and eat people. The animals are so different and creative, and some even just bizarre, and it's such a beautiful, beautiful alien ecosystem that the artists put together. And this is why I do it, is stuff like this show. This show is a work of art. If it didn't have any lyrics, if it didn't have any words or lines, and it was just the landscape, it would still be a beautiful show. You could tell that story with no words, and Scavengers Raid would still be a beautiful, totally encapsulating experience. The story follows 3 main arcs. One arc is a Black woman who escapes me, but she is the cargo expert, and she is with a cyborg robot, a Levi, and they are in one area. Another story arc are 2 more scientists, one of them the leader of the ship, another one a scientist on the ship, and they go through their misadventures together in various places. And third is obviously my favorite, which is the dude whose fault the fucking ship crashed. He has a very interesting, real bad time, and he ends up interacting with some, I'm just gonna call like evil psychic pandas. That's just the best way I can describe them. I don't know. There's no name for them. So they're really evil psychic pandas. and he's though they're very malicious, controlling psychic pandas, and they're kind of like evil. They're like psychic frog pandas. Like that's kind of what they are. They're like evil psychic frog pandas. Watch the show anyway. Like it's they end up manipulating him and brainwashing him. That is a method of control they use very commonly to feed and control the other organisms in their ecosystem. And the evil frog psychic pandas do this to this human man and gain him under their control and begin leading him around and influencing him. And it is such a beautiful experience. It is such a beautiful experience. You know, they explore another woman who has been here for a long time, crash lands in a different place from a different company, and she's been there, and she's just kind of like this native doctor of the land, and she understands, you know, the way this unique place interacts with one another, and she begins to teach some of our heroes, the people we're following, you know, some of the ways of the world. And it is it's such a masterpiece. I have no idea if they're going to do another one. I have no clue if there's a second season. I can see if there was no second season to the show. It seems like the way the very end of the show set up, there a second season may have been thought of, but I if they don't, I'm totally okay with the one season that they gave us, because it was so very good. So kudos to you, HBO Max, and kudos to y'all for hanging out with your boy. It takes a lot of time and energy to properly prep for these podcasts for the people. I want to make it good for y'all, but I also got to be there for my family, my wife and my daughter. So it hasn't been always easy, especially over all the holidays and all the sickness and hospitals and stuff. But hopefully, I can get back to you guys more regularly, and we can build this bleeping thing out. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to make this thing. I'm trying to kick it out here in these bleeping nerd streets, right now. But before I get out of here, I mean, special shout out to all the stuff I was been watching. Shout out to Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. Watching that right now. Scott Pilgrim is awesome. Shout out to Pluto on Netflix. Awesome. Loved it. Love Pluto. It's real fantastic show. Every episode is like a college dissertation long, but boy, it's really good show. Shout out to Jujutsu Kaisen. Probably the best action scenes of last season. Boy, the shocking deaths and a lot of that. Good story. Loved it. Jujutsu Kaisen. Shout out to Dr. Stone. Y'all know that's my jam. Very well could have made this list. I think these two shows were just a little more special this last season, than Dr. Stone. I think this next season of Dr. Stone is going to probably take the male stand, but this one was a more transitional season. It was still very good. Joyed every bit of it. Here for Senku and Taiju and the homies and all of our miscellaneous science adventures. But it was probably third. It was probably third, and Jujutsu Kaisen hit fourth, and y'all can fight me over that. I don't care. But shout out to a ton of other shows. Shout out to Young Love, Issa Rae, and Kid Cudi. That show, fantastic. They better have a season 2 of that. Man, shout out to Invincible. That's obviously you only got really half a season of Invincible there. So, I mean, a lot of good stuff last season. Shout out to all of it. And shout out to all the stuff I'm going to be covering coming up. And shout out to y'all, man. I appreciate y'all. I'm going to see y'all next time, okay? Check in with your boy. You know what I'm saying? We still got the Reddit. You bleeping nerds, UBN. We still got the Reddit. Hit us up on the Reddit. You know what I'm saying? If you want me to check something out, please throw it in the Reddit. I will be more than happy. I will cover it just for you. Like if you love it and I love it, I will cover it just for you. I'll have you on the podcast to talk about it. You know what I'm saying? If you know that much about it, I'm really just trying to use this to kind of expand my knowledge and have a lot of fun. And I'm having a lot of fun. And it's because of you guys. And I thank you for that. You guys stay safe. You guys be good. I love you guys. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.